NRA's rep tonight.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out to Ask a Conservative. This is one of our most requested events from last semester, early in the year. So we decided to save it towards the end of the semester so everybody can participate. We're hoping that a lot of people come up and ask questions for us. So my name is Rob Korn. I am the chapter chairman of YAF here at College of Lake County. But before this event starts, I just want to address a couple things that have been floating around campus. And YAF as a group, we've actually received several complaints from students, faculty, and administration over the past couple weeks about students feeling unsafe on campus because they feel threatened by our free speech, claiming our speech is somehow inciting violence against other people and making people feel unwelcome. Well, give me a break. Claiming we as conservatives are white supremacists or KKK members is what's actually inciting violence. Claiming our political views are racist is what makes people feel uncomfortable. Claiming you are a tolerant liberal, then turning around and rejecting any view that doesn't match your own is not tolerance. In fact, it's the exact opposite of tolerance. The left on our campus needs to start practicing what they preach. The term fascist has been thrown at us this semester a lot of times. And this is true to anybody who's never read a book in their lifetime. Fascism is cramming your beliefs down other people's throats against their own will. Conservatives do not believe in this type of tyranny. In fact, conservatives believe that everyone should have a voice, that everyone should have free speech rights, no matter if we agree with them or not. Conservatives like to challenge ideas, not shut them down. We will always fight for your right to say whatever you want, even if we don't agree with it. But slandering us as a hate group on campus is not acceptable in any civil forum. As chapter chairman of YAF, I've made it a priority to include opposing viewpoints in all of our events and also inside of our meetings. Liberal students sit in our meetings every single week without raising any concerns or saying anything at all. They do this to make us feel uncomfortable in our own meetings. Well, guess what? It doesn't work. In fact, it actually excites us to know that at least some students on this campus are actually learning something away from their leftist teaching staff that we have on campus here. YAF has taught and liberated more minds at CLC than any professor could ever dream of. And that's why they see us as a threat. When students are doing your job better than you are, there's a call for concern there. This is exactly why they're trying to paint us one of the most diverse groups on campus as white supremacists, which is absolutely silly. The new norm on campus is that if you disagree with someone politically, they must be attacking your identity or attacking your culture. This is also silly. Seriously, people, we need to grow up. You aren't that important. YAF does not care about your culture. We don't care about your identity. We care about your individuality and nothing else. We have so much fun on campus and off campus without thinking about you. And we aren't about to start now. So YAF has an obligation to advance the conservative movement on campus, and you won't stop it. Just as you have an obligation and interest to advance your own ideology on campus, and we can't stop that either. All we hope is that we as students can share our ideas without being silenced. Civil discourse is healthy for our campus and for our country. Without healthy debate and discourse, we'll never be able to advance our ideas to make the country a better place. Our speech does not abuse, disrespect, or chastise students on campus like the Diversity Council claims. This claim is just a way for people to use feelings as a club to beat conservatives over the head to silence them, which doesn't surprise me one bit. People on the left love to fearmonger students with emotional arguments, and they never use arguments to challenge students intellectually, because it's easier to scare someone into agreeing with horrible ideas rather than using logic and facts. Telling students our events are one-sided when we have never thrown an event without including an opposing viewpoint to participate with us. It's just plain dishonest. So, to the Diversity Council, I want to say two things. One, get your facts straight. And two, If you want to be a diversity club, then be diverse, not divisive. Don't hide behind your biases and claim you are tolerant to all views when you clearly aren't. Our student government president says that he stands for free speech, but labels anything he disagrees with as racist and bigoted. Is that the kind of representation the student body agrees with? Is advocating against a minority group on campus the way to advance our students' best interests? I think not. We think the school administration needs to rethink their plans of diversity on campus because they clearly aren't fulfilling those promises. There are students who don't feel represented by the student body, and most of them are in our group. Our group doesn't exist because of racism or bigotry. Our group doesn't exist because of white supremacy or homophobia. We exist because we care about freedom and liberty and free speech rights in all forums of society. And if that's too hard for you to understand, then maybe your professors are not doing a good job educating you on what America was founded on. So, I strongly advise you to challenge your professors' beliefs, challenge their views, and challenge their ideas inside of the classroom. And I promise, if you do that, it will make you smarter, it'll make you a more educated student, and it will help you develop into a better individual when you leave this campus. This school should be about education and not indoctrination. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a lot of questions from everybody in the audience. I'm going to introduce our moderator, Kayla Jackson. She's one of our members, so please give her a round of applause. So what we're going to do in this forum is actually we're going to take questions over on this side because we don't want the microphone to interfere with the speaker. So when you guys have a question, please line up over here. Do not touch the microphone. Kayla will hold it. You don't have to hold it. So please don't take the microphone away from her or try to grab it. We are going to have 5 panelists here, and you can ask them any question that you want. It can be anything from abortion to the economy to social issues, whatever you want. So after the first hour, we're actually going to switch more people out, so you'll be able to ask different people questions. And if you do have a specific question directed at somebody that is on the panel, please make that clear and before you ask your question. And please state your name and your gender pronouns, right? And we can get the event started. So I appreciate everyone for coming. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Kayla, and she's going to start taking questions. And this is going to start off really quick. So anybody who has a question, please line up and make sure you ask a question to some of these panelists. So thank you.
Okay, so got a question? Just
So my name is John, and I got a decent question for anyone on the panel who can answer. As some people know, academia is generally very naturally left-sided, very liberal in nature, and I want to know if you guys think it is possible to have more of a even playing field when it comes to academia, because I've encountered a lot of not only teachers but administration that because of their political views they shape young minds in both middle school and high school to think a certain way. And when it comes to grades and teaching and different types of actual like course material, I've noticed that a lot of it is based off of either not political views in terms of content, but political views in terms of structure. So I'm wondering if you guys think it's possible to have more of kind of like a middle of the road form of academia where everyone gets their own form of, not education, but their own form of free thinking.
Is it on? So I totally agree with your statement there that a lot of, especially here at the college, that a lot of professors, they try to push their views on students. I think it's just up to professors and faculty to be able to be more open-minded about students' right-wing beliefs. There's nothing wrong with being a conservative or a right-wing or anything like that. We're not racist, we're not anything like that. And it's just up to faculty and staff to be able to make sure that they can ensure an environment where conservative students can feel safe sharing their beliefs, and sometimes that's not always the case. Where people feel like they have to, there's a very high percentage of students that feel like they have to hide their conservative beliefs because they're scared of retribution from their professors, and that's not how it should be. So I think if we had professors that were just more open-minded about, just people expressing their views, then I think that would be amazing.
Agree. I also think though I think it starts at home personally. Growing up, you hear certain things, and I think the home structure is more important because your teachers can tell you a lot of different things, but growing up in society, you want to get that from home. You want to be molded from home. That's the most important thing. How can you be taught if you're grounded in those things from the home life? Then coming to school, it won't matter because you know what you know, and what you think, you can think for yourself because you were always taught to think for yourself. Now, unfortunately, in a lot of areas, especially in urban areas, not just in urban areas, just in general, I think a lot of times people are, raised by the school. So unfortunately, they get these views of how to think and how to do this and how to do that, and it should start at home. It shouldn't start at the school. You shouldn't be raised at the school. You should be raised by your parents on how you should think, and then go from there. You know what I'm saying? Then we'll gauge if it's right or wrong. You know what I mean? And I think that's another thing. So personally, that's what I think.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hilton. Website is informed.tv for more information. I believe the students should stand up for your rights. We live in America, and it's very important for everyone to understand what the Constitution of the United States is. The Constitution of the United States is not racist. It has nothing to do with race. It all stems from freedom. And we have to stand for liberty. If you see the people in China right now, the people are struggling because they don't have the freedom of speech at all. But if you don't stand up for freedom for your generation, then you're going to lose it. And that's important. Your teacher, God bless them, prayerfully they'll allow you to speak your mind. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask your teachers questions. Don't be afraid to stand up for what you know and what you think is right. You have to be the leaders of the next generation. You have to learn how to think for yourself. We cannot afford you to become a socialist peon, a person who's just obedient to government all the way. You got to be able to think for yourself and problem solve. If you ever want to have a good job, a good income, you've got to become a problem solver. So school is your opportunity to become the problem solvers you need to be, because you'll have to be the next leaders of America, and they got to be strong. You got to be tested. Test your ideas. Ask questions. That's all part of learning. And without that, what's the point of education if you can't ask questions? No?
Yep, awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hi folks, my name is Rich. My gender pronouns are they, them. I'm a little worried that got a laugh earlier about pronouns. So today is Trans Day of Remembrance. It's a day in which we mourn the lives of trans folk who have been murdered largely on the basis of their gender and or sexuality. You call yourselves Young Americans for Freedom, so my question to you is that even if gender and sexuality were hypothetically choices, I don't believe that they are, but hypothetical, how can you align yourselves with a political party that largely ignores and often suppresses queer people's right to the basic freedoms of life and happiness?
You said that the party we support suppresses queer people?
Just like an example I know is like, and I'll be honest, I'm a little shaky on the actual legal name of this, but I know like President Trump was pushing for like a conscience clause. So like if someone goes in to see a doctor and the doctor finds out that they're gay or trans or lesbian or anything that doctor doesn't, agree with, legally would have the right to say, I don't want to provide service to you because you are, LGBT, that sort of thing. So just this kind of litigation and you have to go this extra step, or queer people, you're not allowed to have this thing, or at the very least, a party that, and again, I am talking generally, I can acknowledge that may just, the needs of queer people can fall on deaf ears.
Again, I'm confused with what you mean, because you say you don't know the policy specifics up here, and so...
I'm sorry, I just meant the name of the policy. I've heard it called like the conscience clause. I'm sure that's probably not the legal, legalese that's used, but...
Okay, say that one more time for me, because I still don't understand, because basically what we believe as Young Americans for Freedom is that every employer, every person, every doctor, teacher has the right to choose what they want to teach, what they want to do with their profession, because they're the one that you're paying them for that service. So if you're paying them, if you don't agree with that doctor, why can't you just pick up and go to another doctor who probably agrees with you anyway? Why would you put a gun to their face, which is aka the government, saying you have to do this, you have to provide them that service just because they disagree with you?
Well, it's not a matter of it's a matter of, healthcare is a huge barrier, huge problem for trans people specifically, but queer people in general.
Not really. It's funded by the government under Obamacare, that I could walk in and transition to a woman any day I want, and is paid by your taxpayer dollars.
You're cis, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna play identity politics now?
No. I want to make sure, because I want to respect people's pronouns and all that sort of stuff. So, you're coming at this from this. I can tell you that as a trans person, I have had to switch doctors a couple of times. I've even gone into waiting rooms and been like, I can tell that this is not the kind of doctor for me, and I leave, and I have to go to multiple doctors. And that's, an example of that kind of thing that if you're cis and straight, you don't have to think about that. So you pose this hypothetical to me about why don't you just go to a different doctor? Why should I, because of who I am, why should I have to go to a dozen doctors to find one that respects me, whereas a straight cisgender person doesn't have to worry about that? And I'll just stop there.
So I guess, and what you're saying is, for you, you have to, I don't want to say problem, but I want to say the reason you're going to the doctor is for the issues relating gender. So if I had diabetes,
not
I would be going to a doctor relating to the issues of diabetes. So if I went to that doctor and if it wasn't the best person that I thought was fit for me, I wouldn't say that person's hateful. I would just pack up my bags and go to a different doctor, because that's what the free market system does, is I get to choose my doctor for the lowest price, at the lowest time, whenever I want, and the government is not forcing me to do that.
I think we're talking about two different things here. And first of all, I do see a doctor for gender-related stuff, but I'm also just a human being. I have a physical. I need to check my blood pressure, all the stuff that people of all genders do. I'm not talking about that. But even in those instances, general practitioner, someone who is not, contributing to my transition kind of thing, we are still, our pronouns are not respected, or they don't listen to our full stories. They don't think about it's such a slippery slope for a doctor to be able to say, I don't think you are who you say you are, therefore I'm not going to treat you, because that would never happen to a straight.
If a doctor wasn't supporting you for who you were, then why would you want to give your money to that doctor?
You're right, but I shouldn't, as a trans queer person, I shouldn't have to take a crap shot and hope that, cross my fingers, boy, I sure hope this doctor that I'm seeing isn't a transphobe. I sure hope that doesn't happen.
I could go online right now and just look up LGBT accepting doctors, and I'm sure 100 examples would pop up.
Right, but no one should have to go through that. I should be able to go to...
I research my doctor before I go to them.
I'm not talking about costs here, because I know this is language that gets into cost, but I should be able to go to any doctor and be treated as a human being, especially for medical reasons. I shouldn't have to hope that this doctor will treat me right, the way that a straight cisgender person can go to any doctor, and no one would ever say, if a doctor said, oh, you're straight, I don't agree with that lifestyle, I will not.
Then go to a different doctor.
But why should I have to, drive to all these different places and make so many different appointments.
We're just going in
But why
circles
should
at
you,
this point.
why would you force a doctor to do anything like that?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Why would you force a doctor to have to conform to something like that? If you don't like what your doctor's doing, you can go to a different doctor. That's the beauty about the system we have. If you don't like it, you
But
can
they're
switch.
doctors. I mean, I know we pay them.
But you don't have to pay them if you don't like them.
Doctors serve a very important purpose in society. They
I
are
agree.
paid employees, of course. We don't have like a universal health care kind of thing.
Thank God.
But like, they still perform a very important public service, just like the police, right? A very important public service. And so if it's a public service, they owe it to protect
But here's the thing.
all of the public.
You're not entitled to a doctor's time.
I'm not entitled to go to a doctor? when I
No,
need
you're
things?
not entitled to a doctor's time. If you want to go see a doctor, like that doctor can say, "Hey, I want to treat you." If they don't, then that they have every right to say that they don't.
So
And
let me-
if you don't, and if they say no, then you have the right to go to a different doctor. And if they treat you, then that's awesome. But no one has the right to put a gun to their doctor's head and say, "Hey, you have to treat me."
Let me answer
That's what
that
I'm
question
saying.
for you.
Okay.
As conservatives, we respect all human life. It doesn't matter what your background is, if you're trans, queer, whatever it is. I just want to lay that out first. But there are gay people who are conservatives right now in the conservative movement, lots of them. And we don't discriminate against anybody. That's the first thing you got to understand. I don't know any doctor, if you know of any doctors, you can say it, but I don't know of any doctors that will not treat anybody. You give them money, they'll treat you. If they don't treat you well, then you just go onto that one site and say, that's a stinky doctor, blah, 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 blah. That's a free market. It's beautiful in America, you know? And the thing about it is that, again, we don't discriminate against anyone. It doesn't matter what your background is, what your feelings are, what your, anything, whether it be mental, physical, no discrimination. That's the beauty about America, and we support the Constitution of the United States. We support your right to speak up, your freedom of speech, and you are valued. I want you to know that we value you. We value every single person. That's what conservatives do. We don't hate anybody. We love people. That's what America's all about. This is something this is a message that you don't hear from the media because they got agenda. This is a message that you don't hear from some of your professors. They don't want you to think that conservatives love people. We love people. We value human life, whether it be inside the womb or outside the womb, inside or outside. We're all equal. No matter what our race is, we're all equal. We don't elevate one person above another. Now the left, what they tend to do is they want to choose which people should be the higher category. Okay, if you're black, you're this category. If you're white, you're way down here. If you're Latino, but you're an immigrant, illegal immigrant, you're way up here. If you're gay, oh, you're an immigrant, you're way up here. They've got a caste system. That's not equal under the law. That's something that's unjust. We believe in all equality. So we already have an equal rights aspect. Everyone's treated equally. And that's the heart of America. That's the beauty of America. And no matter what your background is, you're accepted. And for example, I'm going to talk about this aspect. You can't force, here you have a black photographer. All right, black photographer, and then there's a Ku Klux Klan rally down in Georgia somewhere. Now the Ku Klux rally says, I want that black photographer to film us doing this mob thing that we're doing here, we burn the cross. The black photographer said, no, I'm not going to give you my service just to hold your Ku Klux Klan rally. I refuse to do that. Why are we going to force a black photographer to film and take pictures of a Ku Klux Klan rally? Same principle. It shouldn't be happening. We should give people the freedom. Everyone has the freedom, you know?
Okay, I think, and I know I want to make time for other people, and I feel like we're kind of getting off track here. Just the last thing that I want to leave this panel with, because I was kind of like expecting this sort of general response, you know, like, oh, if you don't like it, like, go to a different doctor, and yeah, you're right, and that's what I've had to do, and it's cost me a lot of money, and hours, and frustration and pain. But the thing that I want to leave you with is, you know, you're saying, you know, that's what I and other queer people should do, is like, can you honestly say to yourselves that if you went into a doctor's office and the doctor found out you were straight, cis, that kind of stuff, and they said, I don't want to treat you, I don't want to see you, I won't give you medication because you're straight, would you yourselves, in that situation, would you feel like your freedom was threatened?
You really already answered that question. We don't hate anybody.
Yeah, I know.
We don't hate anybody. We accept every single person.
That's not my
Whether
question.
they-
Those
the
who
question
respect
is-
trans lives, we're having a Trans Day of Remembrance vigil over in B113 at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, see whatever doctor you want.
My name's Ray. My pronouns are they, them, and I came in here kind of late, so I didn't really have any questions. I just had a couple comments I wanted to say about the last few questions that were brought up, and I was hearing a lot of talking from both sides, but not a whole lot of answers from either sides, and I'm not here to divide left versus right. Conservatives think this, liberals think this. You know, it's not black and white like that, but I was hearing either sides, you know, comparing healthcare and availability of doctors for trans folks to putting a gun to a doctor's head, you know, when you're just trying to get your blood checked or your testosterone shots administered. And you said it's the doctor's right. It's the doctor's right and freedom of an American to turn down this person. But I personally don't believe that one person's freedom is exactly freedom or equality if it's infringing on someone else's freedom. I don't think it's a doctor's freedom to turn down someone in relation to their occupation just because of their personal views and opinions. Did they not take, you know, an oath? Did they not take years of teaching to help people, not specific people, just everyone? You know, we're here to help people regardless of what you think about their quote-unquote lifestyle. And
So what's the question?
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say, like, I don't think personally, coming from my point of view, that you know, my question, you know, is how can you say this is a doctor's right and freedom? How is that freedom if it's infringing on someone else's freedoms as another American? Why, as someone who is trans, go through all these different doctors? Why shouldn't a doctor say, it's my job to do this? You know, why can they kick you out because of their personal beliefs?
How do you know that doctor knows? What's the difference between a trans person and a non-trans person? What's the difference between you and myself besides the skin color and what organs we have, sexual organs we have in the body? Are we not human?
We are human, but this isn't about my organs. This is about my accessibility to healthcare and a doctor.
So, therefore, do you know of any doctor specifically that will not treat you?
Yes, I've met handfuls of doctors. My friends have met handfuls of doctors, hours of time getting turned away because they refuse to administer services.
What are their names?
I don't think that's your business.
Okay, well,
I don't need to,
then
that.
therefore, if you don't know, we can talk about hypotheticals all the time. I just want to deal with reality. I don't know of any doctor that will just say, hey, I'm not going to give you your heart medication. I'm not going to give you your diabetes medication. I'm going to give you whatever kind of medication you need. You know, if you need it, all I know is the doctors will give it to you. I don't know of anything. Now, I think everyone should be treated equally. Conservatives, we believe everybody should be treated equally. From our end, like if you're asking us conservative, we believe everybody should be treated equally. That's fine. No one should be discriminated against. And so, like I said, you're accepted. We accept you. We love everybody. That's what conservatives are all about. We love the Constitution. This is all about America, you know?
And I appreciate, you know, saying like equality, you think everyone's equal and you should be treated that way. That's all I have to say, really. It's not really hypotheticals, though. Like, just because I've met certain doctors that you haven't, it's not a hypothetical. Our realities are just different instances.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know of any doctor that will not treat you for your health care, whatever it is. I really don't.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, right. Sorry. Hi. So I actually do have, it's hypothetical, but it's, so if you go to the emergency room, you're unresponsive, that kind of a stuff, but they know that you are LGBTQ. Do you think that the doctor should be able to turn down services? Or, you're LGBTQ, you are going for a second, what is it called? A second opinion because you have cancer. Should they be able to say, nope, I don't want to see you, on those kinds of things? I get when you're talking about going in for a regular doctor's appointment, that kind of stuff. You're a healthy person going in for a checkup, well, I don't want to see you, but that guy over there will. That kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? When you're talking about life-saving or life-threatening things, is that a different issue?
I don't think that, I don't know of any doctor that would be like, when someone's, it's like a life or death situation.
I'm not asking about whether a doctor will or won't. I'm asking about whether if you were a doctor and you were one who doesn't like to treat LGBTQ people, is it okay for you in a life-threatening situation to say no?
I would not turn down somebody simply because of their sexual orientation. That's just me. If it's a life or death situation, my job as a doctor is to save people's lives.
I
And
agree.
in that situation, I would not turn down somebody because of their race, sexual orientation, or anything, or gender, or anything like that.
So what
Nothing
we're
wrong
doing
with
here is we're conflating the two, we're conflating both these things to mean one. We say, oh, I'm a doctor, so I'm not going to treat you because you happen to like men and you're a man. That's completely different than saying, please, I want to cut my genitalia off because I don't identify as it.
Right.
Completely different. One is treating someone because of who they are, and one is actually doing something that goes against their own moral code, saying, you are transitioning from a man to a woman. Anywhere would say, that's the same thing as saying, oh, you're Mexican, I don't want to take your blood pressure. Who says that? No one says that. Same reason they say, oh, you're LGBT, so I don't want to give you a root canal. No one is saying that. We're conflating giving someone a checkup and identity politics, and it's just semantics at that point.
Okay, that's fine. That's why I wanted to separate the two.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's it. That's it. All right, I got a question. It's a pretty good question that the Twitter, or Facebook, or CNN won't tell you, but because they're fake news. Anyways, please tell us how the Democrat. Oh, stop moving the mic, Caleb. Damn. All right, fine. All right, I want you guys to tell us right now. Tell this whole room, because I guarantee none of them pay attention to anything that they know out there. Anyways. How has the Democratic Party in America failed people of color and the minorities in America? Hilton, answer that question. I know you got a good answer. I know, I missed it.
All right, the Democratic Party has failed the black community by providing us with failing schools. That's the first thing I can think of. The next thing, bad economy. They have policies, various, let's say, policies that are economic policies which are very detrimental to the black community, such as the welfare. Instead of workfare, they push welfare, and they encourage black people to not, they basically encourage men not to be able to stay in the home so many times. When the mother receives welfare, for example, some of the men who helped to raise those, who create those children, were not allowed to stay in that home to be a father. Fatherlessness leads to poverty in so many cases. Many times we see the young people in prison systems, they did not have a father in the home. And they said about 83% of people who are in jail right now were fatherless. And that adds to many other aspects. There's anger that develops, resentment. Fatherlessness is serious. Also, the Democrat Party is responsible for the redlining districts as well. Now, the beauty of Trump is that he reversed those redlining districts by creating opportunity zones, so that we reversed a policy that started back during the days of FDR. Back in 1934, through HUD, they pushed this redlining where blacks were segregated. That's the Democrat policy. That's how Democrats have failed the black community. And that any effect from that poverty, any effect from that segregation affects us today. If it does, that's the Democrat result of voting Democrat. And therefore, what Trump did, again, he reversed those redlining districts by doing opportunity zones, building good schools within the urban sector. Also, new jobs for the black minorities. Also, another thing that Trump did was that he had something called the First Step program, where blacks who, many times, Democrats will say, oh, well, we need prison reform because so many blacks are being incarcerated. Well, that's cool, because what Trump did was he gave us prison reform, and that's a good thing, which means that we can get guys to transition from prison and then to work, so they have an opportunity to get a job and things.
So some things that Trump did, being the racist he is, so prior to the Trump administration, African American unemployment rate never dipped below 7%. When Trump came in office, over 1.4 million new jobs have been created for African Americans. The poverty rate among African Americans is currently the lowest it's ever been in the history of the United States. During his first year, the poverty rate fell to 21.2%. In 2016, 241,000 jobs, more African Americans were living in poverty. That was right before his term. As a result of the historic Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, nearly 9,000 opportunity zones were created in all 50 states, DC, and 5 territories, which will spur $100 billion in private capital investment for the black community. And that's just a few things. I could keep on going, but you know, Trump's a racist. So.
Yeah, so also...
So a racist wouldn't do all that stuff for black people. The reason why so many blacks are becoming conservative and going, really, blacks have always voted Democrat. You gotta understand, remember we said last time that Martin Luther King was Republican, Malcolm X was Republican, he believed in gun rights, you better believe that. Harriet Tubman was Republican, your black leaders were Republican, Ida Bell was Republican, so many. And so we have to understand that this is just our heritage. We're the party of freedom. Again, the Democrat Party was a party of slavery. The Democrat Party pushed the Jim Crow laws. That's the segregation laws. And today they still push segregation by pushing something called white privilege. And when you go to your Further college, they're going to be talking about white privilege, white privilege. But they want, it's psychological programming to get blacks to think less of themselves. We are equal to anybody. We can stare anybody in the face. But with this thing called white privilege, they want us looking down. Oh, they are higher. We're always a victim. They use victim to psychologically program black people to fail and to blame other people for the problems instead of us taking responsibility. They're going to do that to the Latinos too. Just as the Democrats have demoralized the black community, they're going to do the same thing to the Latino community. Let me add one more thing. I'm just roll. Why else would people want to come to this beautiful country, this economic oasis called America, from different countries, especially from South America? Because it's a land of opportunity. Why would they leave a socialist country only to be greeted by a bunch of socialist Marxists within America? Said, hey, I know you left Venezuela, a horrible place, but hey, we're socialists too, and we're going to just do the same thing here. No, they're not going to vote for that. When they realize that socialists control the Democrat Party, they are not going to want to vote Democrat. Socialists. They're not going to want to vote Democrat. They're trying to betray. They're going to end up betraying you, and they're going to say, oh, look, because they come to these socialist countries, we're going to get them to vote Democrat. No. They try to do that to us blacks. And look at what happened to our culture. So I want you, Latino community, those who are Hispanic, consider who you vote for. We believe in freedom and economic opportunity. And the reason why the Democrats don't want you to know about their history about socialism because they want you to not know about the Constitution. So learn about your Constitution, learn about freedom, and vote conservative.
They also want your votes. That's,
right.
You know, that's how
Simple
they
as
are.
that.
But so another thing, I guarantee half this school is in favor of this because they don't understand. But why is socialism a failure, and why should we not go the socialist route? And explain to them that socialism is not Social Security. It is not your snowplows. It is not your fire department. It is not your police department.
Well,
you can laugh all you want. That's not the truth.
Well, I mean, I've had a dad my dad, he escaped from Poland in the 80s, and he's seen socialism firsthand, how the government controls the means of production, how they basically ration basic resources like milk and eggs. And socialism, everywhere in the world, when it has been tried, it has utterly failed. Look at Venezuela, look at Europe, look at everywhere that has failed, and people will try to say, oh, Denmark or any of these Scandinavian countries are socialist paradises, but they actually have a lot of more free market policies than we do in a way, which is kind of crazy to think about. So socialism has never, ever worked anywhere in the world. And if we try it in America, it will be utterly
Hold on a second, that's not true. It has worked. It's worked at killing people. Millions.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
All right, I'm moving on.
Thank you.
What a clown. A couple things Maurice you said. And gentlemen, what's your name? Chris, thank you for your valuable questions to reaffirm your bias and your own point of view. Maurice, a couple of things you mentioned. You said the education system has failed us from a federal level, and you said conservatives are helping us, yet Trump seeks to cut education funding by $8.3 billion. So how can you explain how conservatives are actually helping our education system get any better. In addition to that, you also mentioned.
Stop.
Give me one
Let's
second.
answer that question
Let me
first.
finish my question.
Okay,
In addition to that, you mentioned there were a lot of people in prison, a lot of blacks in prison. Yet, the majority of these cases are petty cases for marijuana. Yet, the only party that goes for decriminalizing marijuana charges are liberals, Democrats. So, and for your comment, no Democrat in the primary is considered a socialist. Bernie is the closest you'll get, yet not a socialist. No Democrat is saying let's go into social. No one's saying let's be socialist in this nation, because of course that doesn't work. There were progressives, liberal if you want to call it, but not socialist. So if you just want to clarify those two things I mentioned.
Hold on. Bernie is completely a self-identified socialist. He's literally said himself, I am a socialist. He said that himself. You can look it up. CNN won't tell you that. CNN won't tell you that.
Can I answer your question?
Okay. What Trump is doing is he's sending money to different schools and things, and that's still going on right now. But what's happening is that he's also redirecting some of the money to charter schools, which have been proven to be very effective. Why not have schools that offer competition? Why are we always sending our kids to union schools? Schools are more beholden to the interests of teachers' unions than the benefit of the student. Parents want schools that work and function. Wouldn't you want your kids to go to a school that actually taught your kids something instead of indoctrinating your kids? Wouldn't you want to go to a school that actually taught math effectively and they were learning, where they weren't distracted? So he's putting money into charter schools. In fact, this new policy he just initiated in October, Ms. DeVos is pumping a lot of money into charter schools in the opportunity zones, where the schools have been failing young people. We should be investing in schools. Our black youth have been suffering from these failing schools. Teachers who don't want to teach or can't teach or refuse to, they're too busy indoctrinating kids to teach them how to learn reading, writing, arithmetic. The biggest problem in the black community right now is illiteracy. That's huge. Without kids who know how to read, there's a lack of comprehension. We can't comprehend things and be able to think and reason if you don't know how to read. And that's the biggest issue in the black community. And so that's education right there. So Trump is focused on that right now, spending a whole lot of money into that with that program. Now the teachers unions don't like it at all. They prefer to have all the power. In fact, the teachers union president said, you all think, before he retired, he said, you all think, he was talking to the teachers union people, that us coming together is all about teaching kids. No, it's not. This is the head of the teachers union now. He said, our group coming together is all about power, and your union dollars are what empowers us to get our will done and get more wealth into our hands. That's what he was talking about. So that's not someone who's interested in helping children, whether it be black or Latino. It doesn't matter what a race is. We all need educated students. They are the future of the next generation. You would hope that our kids will be educated, and so we should be focused on teachers who are actually doing a job in schools that work. And we need competition. Why not have competition? That's a free market. You said something about marijuana and things. Okay. Okay, that's cool too. Got school vouchers. Yep, we're doing school vouchers, which gives the parents the power to send their kids to the right school, their choice. So if the school's not, what's the beauty about school vouchers is it gives the parents the ability to send their kids to a good private school if they want to, that's effective. Because what the Democrats have successfully done, unfortunately, is that they have segregated our schools even to this day. They've had segregation where, like in the city of Waukegan, blacks only can go to one particular school. In North Chicago, one particular school, that's all they can go to. But why not give the parents the money so they can put their students into a school that works for them? Instead of segregating them in the so-called black districts, why not give them the power to determine which school is going to be right for them? But Democrats don't believe that. No, we have to indoctrinate them. We got to keep you blacks harnessed all in one location. The same thing they did back in the days of the plantation. Again, okay, next thing. We're talking about marijuana. You're talking about marijuana?
Yes, I mentioned that's a major charge for petty offenses and the reason a lot of blacks are in jail.
Okay.
Yet Democrats
prison reform, yeah, it's changing right now.
What's that?
It is changing right now, thanks to Trump.
And I mentioned that.
Thanks, Mr. Trump, yeah. And that's what prison reform is all about, too. All right, so that's changing.
Yeah, Democrats are the ones to decriminalize marijuana charges, not conservatives.
I'm
just a little confused on your points on education.
Sure.
So you backed up your point of Trump taking $8 billion away from education by saying he's investing more money in charter schools. And then you mentioned that they can't send their own kids to the schools of their choice, but that's how it works around the United States. Unless you want to send your kid 20 miles out, you can if it's a private school. That's up to you if you can afford it or not.
Yeah,
so
but
I'm a little confused with your points.
Hold on. First,
You said he took away 8 million from the school?
8 billion.
Oh, but, well, okay, so some of the things that Trump has done in regards to...
Are you looking at the same packet you gave me?
Yes.
Because this packet also states he's very environment friendly, even though he's not. So I'm
well, the U.S. is actually...
I'm having a hard time believing how reliable
the US
this
has decreased
is.
its carbon emissions.
It
lower
says
than
he's
any
promoting a
country
clean and
since
healthy
2006,
environment
so-
for all Americans. He's doing the complete opposite with the Keystone Pipeline. 400 gallons leaked into...
You realize that every factory that we shut down in the United States, 10 more open up in China.
I'm talking about the U.S., not China. So,
Right,
so how
because
is he
when we-
promoting?
because when we put more-
How is he promoting a clean and healthy environment for
Because
Americans?
when we put regulations on our factories here in the United States, they just move across to a different country and open up 10 more, and then they hire people for cheaper. You could pay someone in China to work for like $1 a day, and then they don't have any restrictions when it comes to carbon emissions. They have metals being spewed into
Once
their
again, we're talking about the
atmosphere.
U.S. So,
Yes,
so,
because
so,
when
so
you
you're
don't
admitting he
have
doesn't
a-
have any regulations. So he's not promoting a health and clean environment.
Because when you shut down factories in the United States,
So-
like
so you are
Obama
admitting
did,
that there
like
are no
Obama
regulations.
did, the Obama administration shut down hundreds of thousands of factories, and where did they all go? They went to different countries.
So you are admitting he's.
well, here's
He's
the
not
thing.
for
The funny
So
thing
when,
is
when
that...
you deregulate there have been more factories that have moved from places like China and India, and now they're moving back to the United States. And we have more renewable energy here than in the other countries.
Here's the thing. The U.S. actually leads the world in reducing carbon emissions.
That's true.
So, President Trump is doing a damn good job at promoting a healthy environment.
Who
I'm
is?
just saying. Trump. President Trump.
What has he done to promote a healthy and clean?
Leading the world in carbon emissions.
How has he done that? What regulations? What policies?
According to the BP's new statistical review of world energy, the U.S. is leading in reducing carbon emissions.
Well, you can say that, but that
by
doesn't-
factories, like you said, factories are closing and they're moving to China or anywhere else in the world. We don't
No, he just said they were moving under Obama, not under Trump. So how does that help him at all?
But I'm just under Trump. They're moving too.
Well, yeah, because of his trade wars and relations
All right, but that's
on
you're
climate
that's
change.
besides the point. The U.S. is leading the world in reducing carbon emissions. So how can you say that Trump is not doing anything to promote a healthy environment when the U.S. is leading the world?
And that's what my question is. What regulations, policies, or laws has he put in place to lower the low in carbon emissions to brag about that fact?
What does it matter?
Huh?
What? Sorry, I'm interrupting. I'm sorry.
You're okay.
Well, I'm just saying, when you encourage a free market, it works on itself. When you don't have the government intruding into the government's business, it works on itself. You have people like Elon Musk out there making a company like Tesla, which is becoming one of the biggest car producers in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great example of just letting entrepreneurs create and letting them reduce these carbon emissions and promote a healthy environment on themselves.
I mean, that's a whole nother debate.
But I'm just saying that's how.
I can state that I have a small business and I'm not as big as them, and I'm never going to be as big as them. 'Cause I didn't start out with
We're
the
talking
amount of money they
about.
started.
We're talking about.
I'm just trying to
carbon
say
emissions, not your business.
that the free market and capitalism usually tends to work for people that start out with a large
I
sum
wouldn't
of money.
blame the failures of your small business on Trump's economy. I'm just saying.
That was a good jab, man. I mean, I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying. Here's the thing.
It
I
wasn't
don't-
a jab. I was just saying, like, I know so many people who've literally been homeless and for most of their life, and then they created a business, and they didn't complain once. Oh, President Obama isn't helping
And
my
you tell
business
me how
grow."
many times
They
that
did by
happens.
hard
You tell
work
me how
and
many times that
dedication.
happens.
My dad.
I bet you can name those. I
Hold
bet
on,
you can
hold
name
on.
those people with the fingers of your hand.
My
So don't
dad
come
is
with
a-
that
my
bullshit
dad-
that it happens to
Excuse
anyone
me.
just as long as you keep trying, because
Hard
that's
work,
not true.
dedication, and intelligence.
That's not true.
It's very true. My dad's a small business
That's
owner.
so in America, we went from literally no country at all to the richest, most prosperous, most successful country where more people are moving here than any other country in the world in like 200 years. Because of the American work ethic, because of the American dream, and because of the values that this country was founded on.
And that's true. I'm not saying you can't make a life for yourself. I'm saying you won't be as big as any other big companies that start out with a large sum of money. And
Okay,
that's
but that
true.
doesn't,
You can't
but
deny that.
But that doesn't mean you're not
Capitalism just screws
successful.
over all the small businesses.
But that doesn't mean you're not successful. You think that any person that opens up like a small like burger shop at the corner, like compares like, oh, I'm not as big as McDonald's, so like I'm not successful. You can still be a successful business without having to be a massive conglomerate.
Brian, I'll visit your business. I'll help you out.
Yeah, whatever you sell, man, I'll buy it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. One last question for Maurice. You always talk about indoctrination. Do you really believe that everyone's been indoctrinated to believe that Democrats are magically the best party out there? Just 88% of blacks are Democrats and the majority of the U.S. is liberal. Do you really believe it? There's this magical trick that people are putting into the minds of these people to become Democrats, or is it because they're actually looking at the policies and the policies that benefit the people the most and not just the big companies like Trump's businesses as well?
Well, the thing is that indoctrination happens when your teacher tells you this person is basically bad and this party is good, or these politicians are good. It happens in the classroom. For example, I mean, I don't want to get too anecdotal and everything like that when it comes to that, because I've got relatives down in Texas right now, and my cousin told me that every teacher is pretty much a Marxist. Every single teacher. They're people of the left. So when your teacher, the person you look up to, happens to be a leftist, a Marxist, who thinks America's an evil place, you can't help but know that that person has influenced you. You can't help it. Your favorite teacher, oh, the teacher loves me, and they say, oh, America's a bad place, and then you grow up thinking that. Of course, teachers have the biggest thing, influence in the kids' minds, and a lot of the teachers unions, they are on the left, and it's fine, but at least allow the students to think for themselves. You know, that's what we're all about. It's about freedom. And don't belittle another. Let both sides speak. What's happening with Antifa right now in the college campuses, that's silencing free speech in America. And of course, where does that come from? Where's it happening right now? That's in Hong Kong. We stand with the people of Hong Kong. We're not going to say, oh, we silence them. No. We stand with them. The only side before the left or the right is the left right now who is trying to silence the freedom of speech. We're not about that. We're about freedom. And allow the kids to think for themselves. And that's not what's going on in any socialist country down South America or any socialist country outside of America. We believe in freedom. So, thank you.
Thank you, Maurice. It just seems like you live in a fantasy. I'm sorry.
No,
if you really believe everyone's indoctrinated, they waved the wand and now they're all liberal.
Yeah.
Brainwashed.
Are you talking about
are you
talking about in the black community?
No, in general.
Oh, you just talking
the
about
majority
in
of
general?
the U.S. is
You talked about minorities at first.
and black people. 88% of
hold on,
blacks.
just
88%
one
of blacks
question.
are.
So Lyndon B. Johnson didn't say that he was going to have the N-words voting for him for 200 years. He was a Democrat. He didn't say that. Lyndon B. Johnson didn't say, the one that brought in the Great Society, he didn't say that he was going to have N-words voting for him for 200 years. He didn't say that.
I have no idea.
Margaret Sanger, who is she not a Democrat? Is she not a leftist? She didn't say. Hold on. She didn't say that she wanted all N-words to be extinct. She didn't say that. She was a Democrat. She did say that. And also, coming into somebody's home and telling them that their father can't be at home, and you want to give them money and kicking them out on the streets and not telling them at the end of the year that they can file tax, that is racist. Because at the end of the day, you're giving them money and telling them and rewarding them for being poor and messing up their family structure. That's not no one's job. You should have your own family. You should be able to take care of your family. No one should give you money and reward you for being poor. We've been on SNAP and EBT for years and years now, and it hasn't worked. All it's done is made people not want to work and put in their heart that they should go to work and get it for themselves, because it's more sustainable when you have it for yourself, so you don't have to depend on nobody to get it. Because as much as they give it to you, they can take it away. At the end of the day, somebody's telling you that when you get SNAP and EBT, you can't make this amount of money or they're going to take it away from you. Does that not sound racist? When you get an SSI check, somebody tells you, hey, you can get this money, but you can't save it. Does that not sound racist to you?
No.
How come? Isn't that a twisted way of being racist?
You're talking about a lot of different things.
But I'm saying,
Social Security, you guys are trying to take Social Security away, first of all. You guys took the surplus of Social Security. We haven't had a surplus of Social Security in years.
Brian, it should be used to a certain extent. It shouldn't be used.
Now you're talking about welfare.
It should be used to a certain extent. It should be a certain extent. It should be used to a certain extent. That's what I've been saying.
Now you mentioned a bunch of presidents saying radical comments, but yet you don't mention Trump saying he can shoot anyone on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a single supporter.
Right.
And yet you say that's true. because he says anything, and you guys still support him.
Magic
You
you're
defend
talking
him.
about is welfare.
What's that?
That magic you're talking about, that, you know, Democrats wave, yeah, that's called welfare. It's called government benefits and all these government-run programs that don't do anything except, you know, really take fathers out of the home. And they encourage people to be poor and not self-dependent, not self-reliant.
The problem isn't fixed with what Trump did. Go do community service and then you can get benefits. That's not a solution. I'm sorry. But thank you. Appreciate all your answers, guys.
Yeah, the thing is that the reality is that most of your teachers, at least 70%, 75% of your teachers are leftists, are Democrats. They spend money in the Democrat Party. That's not a dreamland, that's reality. That's okay, well, you never asked, I just want to give you the facts. Just want to give you the facts.
Sorry, we got another question, guys.
Y'all almost made me forget what the hell I was gonna say. Oh, for real. Y'all was just going back and forth, getting nowhere. I guess I just have a general question for all of y'all and who anybody else to really think about it. I hear y'all talking about how freedom this and freedom that and, you know, the morals and the values that America was founded and built on. I really want to ask you, what do you really think America was founded and built on? What are the morals and the values of this country? And after you let that simmer, I'm no conservative, I'm no liberal, I'm a black man trying to make it, period. And it ain't easy for a black man to try to make it in this country, you want to believe it or not. Conservatives believe the role of government should, thank you, sweetheart, the roles of government should be provided for people, the freedom necessary. I'm sorry, you got this right there. Where you want me to go? Tell me where you want me to go. That's cool, right there. Okay, conservatives believe the roles of governments should be to provide people the freedom necessary to pursue their own goals. The freedom necessary to pursue their own goals. If you look back on how this country was built and what it was built on, which is slavery, if you look back on that, how could you, these people are depressed or oppressed for over 400 years. So how could you provide someone who's starting off down here with the necessary things needed educational-wise, living-wise, how could you provide them with that equally to the ones who are 10 steps ahead already, period?
Well, I would say that we should not discourage family. We should be helping the family themselves and not trying to disintegrate the family. We should be, I would say, first of all, here's the aspect of principles that everybody ought to believe as an American. Yes, America was built on freedom. It started with the Declaration of Independence. That laid the foundation for the Constitution, which also laid the foundation for economic freedom, empowerment.
What year was that?
The Declaration of Independence, that was in 1776. That's where it all started.
Okay.
That's the beginning of America.
On freedom,
right? It's all about freedom. All men are created equal, endowed by the Creator endowed by the Creator with unalienable rights, which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that happiness was in there. Remember that movie called The Pursuit of Happiness that Will Smith was on? That's the aspect of it. You can achieve anything if you put your mind to it. We are not the party that belittles you or say that you're this race or you are lower. That's the left that has always done that. The same party, and they still do it to this day. With white privilege. And something like critical race theory. They made us into victims. No, we're not victims. We can accomplish anything we put our minds to it. Fred Douglass said.
Do you think America pushed that agenda? Do they really push that? I mean, you talk about white privilege as if you don't know it's there.
Which political party outlawed slavery?
It's not a battle of the sexes, bro. It's not a battle of the political party. I'm just
Our ideology, Republicans gave women the right to vote, freed the slaves. 90% of 100% of Republicans
Stop, one
passed the
second,
Civil
just one
Rights
second,
Act.
bro, one second, bro. See, because I feel this right here, and this is where America really is screwed up. We so much in competition with one another, you're throwing the blame on this party and on that party. Fuck them parties. Let's get the real stuff at hand. Like, who cares what Democrats did back then? Who cares what Republicans did back then?
So then why are people blaming?
Going, bro, you kind of going in circles. So my question, to get to my question is, how do you provide someone with that type of background an equal platform?
It's all right
equal
here.
Platform in America to
It's
succeed.
all right here.
And then how do you not understand that that Jimmy, who been struggling his whole life, his ancestors started off struggling. So now he's even worse in a
I understand that, but we can talk about that for a lot. Like you just said, we're not talking about the past no more. You said that. We're moving on to the future.
How do you get
Can we move on to the future? We talked about education. We brought up school vouchers and giving the kids a chance to pick a public school, pick private schools. We brought up charter schools. We brought up homeschooling. We brought up an education savings account.
That's not free,
We brought up Texas. We brought up text. Nothing. When you work, when you in America, and I don't believe in no place anything is free. I don't believe that's free. I believe in work, and I believe pushing yourself to get to the limit that you need to go.
That's not accessible to the people who really need it.
How is it not? How is it not?
If they can't afford it, how could they take advantage of it if they can't?
It worked in Washington, D.C., the kids used the vouchers. It worked in the D.C. Opportunity Scholarship Program, graduated at a 91%, more than 20% higher than those interested in the program who did not receive a scholarship, and more than 30% higher than the graduation rate in D.C. public schools. These are African-American kids. You could do anything you wanted to, trust me. African-American participants in a private school choice program were 24% more likely to enroll in college and receive, as a result of receiving a school voucher. The study of the Brookings Institution.
Get with that, because you're reading it, bro. You're not telling me.
I'm giving you facts that I can't remember it in my head.
I'm not saying you can't.
Look, I can only give you what's on paper, and I can only give you facts. Facts doesn't have a race. Facts doesn't have a color. Facts doesn't have an opinion. At the end of the day, we need to look internally.
So
how about this? We look internally and stop killing each other. Stop shooting at each other. Stop leaving our kids. No. That's the truth. Because at the end of the day,
like that out, it confuses people.
At the end of the day, from 1980 to 2018, 10,000 black people were killed by homicide in America.
Okay, now give me some statistics.
No one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about that. And 93% of those shootings were homicide, and it was between the black community. But when one white cop shoots a black person, it's the end of the world, and that's not true. We gotta look within. I'm not going to do the emotional thing, and that's for all black people. I'm not doing the emotional thing no more. We've been doing that for years, and it hasn't worked for us. You got to look within. It's your home, it's yourself. If you create a kid, if you're a man, you stay in your home and you preside over your household. That's what you do. That's how we come up. That's how we make it. At the end of the day, those rules, back before slavery, when slavery wasn't, during slavery, you were more likely to be born as an African-American person in America in a home with a father than you are now. 65% of these men, I'm not saying that's a great man right there. That guy George Sennett, he's played a father in my life, and he provided. So I'm just calling them out because that's a good, astute black man. That's the black man that we need to. That's the type of black man that I'm looking up to be when I get older. A man that takes care of his family and goes to work. That's the type of stuff that we need to promote. Not just self-victim is a bigger issue in America than homicide. That's not true. That's not true. Black on black crime is a thing. Abortion in the black community. 45 million fetuses have been killed. That is. I didn't say that it was. I brought up the woman.
Okay, listen. I don't have a question, but I just got to make these guys get up because we have to switch out panelists. So everyone, give them a round of applause, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to say one more thing to the brother too, that we need to focus on who we vote for to get these policies that we're talking about in place, the vouchers, the tax relief, all those things to put into the black community. Things.
Thank you. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate that.
What's going to end up happening is the partisan lines are going to get stronger. I don't think they're going to get weaker. Especially within the next year, they're going to get weaker. Or at least the comparison lines are going to get weaker. Because what's going to happen is as people get more emboldened to stand up for what they believe in, they may believe the polar opposite. But I think you raise a very good point that what's ending up happening is that people are so divided among partisan lines, they completely ignore ideas from the other side. There's not a lot of compromise. And I'll be the first to admit that I have been guilty of that in my past. And I think a lot of people have. But whether or not that is for the strength of the country really depends on how people treat each other. I think everybody should treat each other with respect, no matter what side of the political aisle you are on. And it goes in a lot to exactly what policies are being endorsed. There are some policies being endorsed, for example, like to give you an example, in Deerfield a year ago, there was a policy that was enacted on the people, was pushed by Brad Schneider and other people in Illinois to bring it kind of back to home, where if you had a gun that had more than 10 rounds, then police would go from door to door trying to collect the gun and trying to get it by force. Now, that is a very sharp ideological line, but people have no choice but to push against it because their rights are being violated. So I don't think that partisan lines are going to get weaker. I think they're going to get stronger. I do think that we need to value ideas of value. I think that we need to contribute and agree with ideas that are good for the country, no matter what side it's coming from. And I wish we weren't as politically divided, but I can't see the future, and I can't promise you what's in store for us. If you have a follow-up, you can. I don't think there's anyone else in line.
Yeah. I can't take it, can I? It might have just been a misspeak from your part, but at the beginning you said that the lines are going to get weaker, and then at the end you said they were going to get stronger.
Sorry, I meant the comparison lines, like the compromise lines are going to get weaker and the partisan lines are getting stronger. That's what I meant.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
I apologize.
So follow-up question, not as much weight. Do you think that third parties in America ever have a chance whatsoever?
Well, I identify more as libertarian than Republican, I'll tell you that. But when I see Gary Johnson in 2016 being booed because he says that we need licenses to drive cars, it's it's not exactly giving me hope. The Libertarian Party, I feel like, could have a chance if they actually promoted themselves on ideological lines and they tackled it. But questions like that were being asked at the 2016. I did watch the 2016 Libertarian debate because I'm a nerd. But the 2016 debate for Libertarians didn't have a lot of relevant questions. I think they could if they decided to actually put themselves more into the mainstream, but I think we're going to have a two-party system for a long time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nora.
All right, does anybody else have questions? I can come to them. Don't be shy. Yes?
Oh, I am campaign manager.
So I just wanted to first say thank you guys for what you're doing. I'm also conservative, and I think everybody should give a round of applause because the fact that they're conservative is the reason we can even have a conversation about the stuff we're having about. It's awesome. It's awesome that we have free speech in this country, and that should be praised. I'm going to open a can of worms. Let's talk about why abortion is morally wrong. Go.
So to answer your question, I would say that abortion is morally wrong because we know it's a scientific fact that life begins at conception. Now, after you have that basis, you have to follow it up with saying, since every human has fundamental value, who is a politician or a citizen to take away that inherent right? Because either it's inherent or it's not. And the only way to tackle that is to be consistent on all levels and say that life begins at conception and treat all humans equally, no matter what, and eliminate suffering and not the sufferer. You have to help women on all levels of their pregnancy, all levels of their life. Help them finding jobs, help them carry their children to term. And abortion, the end of abortion would not mean the end of choices. The end of abortion would mean the beginning of a true humanitarian cause and uplifting inherent humanity and what makes us special.
Go ahead. You want to talk on that?
So the thing about abortion is that with abortion, there is a scientific consensus that life begins at conception. 40 different medical textbooks, including Developing Human, will tell you the same. The reason why it is morally unacceptable to a pro-life is because you cannot take somebody's innocent human life from them. It is always wrong. If you take an innocent human life, it is always wrong. A lot of people use the my body, my choice argument. The problem with that is that if you were to apply that to a different scenario, it would not hold up. For example, if a woman who is 8 months pregnant goes up to a bartender and she orders a vodka, she will not get that vodka from the bartender. Why? Because it is not her body that is only being affected, and the bartender knows that inherently, which is what makes it illegal, except if you're in New York. Now, it's a very relevant question, the question that you brought up, especially considering in May of this year, we had a repeal that was signed into law by J.B. Pritzker that actually allowed partial birth abortion bans. And whether or not you believe that life begins at birth, even if you're on the pro-choice side, I think most people would find that action reprehensible. But the problem is that a lot of people start to shout and they don't actually get into the meat of the issue, which is when does life begin? And it's always going to come back to that question. No matter what approach you approach it from, it will always come back to when does life begin. And if you have a consensus of when life begins, then taking an innocent human life is always wrong.
Hello, thank you for speaking. I would like to know, what are some of the barriers for working your way out of poverty? Do you think anyone can do it? And what as a party do we do to remove those barriers?
All right, I'll take this. Cool. Okay, so with the guy that I wanted to actually elaborate on what he was saying, but I wasn't sitting down on the panel at the time, he was asking a question about how do you expect people to pull themselves out of poverty if their past has been so skewed, right? They're not at the right level that other people started at. Well, that's why conservatives believe in capitalism, because capitalism is the way to pull people from poverty. No other system ever in the history of the world has done anything better than capitalism as far as pulling people out of poverty. So we need, that's why conservatives are actually, very in favor of making free markets, letting people make their own decisions with their own money. And because we as conservatives actually believe that people will make the best decisions with their money, the government is not going to do that. So the misconception about, I had a bad past and I need the government now to kind of bring me to that level, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't work, and it hasn't worked like that because they've been trying this social experiment for 50, 60 years now, and it's horrible. It's just a bad idea. So I think that's why conservatives are so content with making free markets and not having all these regulations on people, because that's exactly what it does. It just brings you down and it never brings you back up, because they'll give you enough money to get food, they'll give you enough money to buy diapers, they'll give you enough money to get have gas and go back and forth to work, but that's it. There's nothing, you don't get anything else from the government, because the government just doesn't know how to distribute money and they're horrible at it. So.
Do you mind if I add to that? So scientifically speaking, data has proved this, that, and I know this is a relevant topic for a lot of people here. I'm not a wealthy guy by any means, but the best way that you can get out of poverty, according to data.
You're not wealthy?
No.
You're white. Shouldn't you be wealthy?
White privilege doesn't pay my bills, man. But anyway, so to get out of poverty, 3 steps that you can do: graduate high school, don't have kids until you're married, get a job. 3 things. If you do that, your chances of being in the middle class and upper middle class skyrocket.
98%.
Oh, really? You know the study?
98% from the Brookings Institution, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that was the source. I couldn't remember. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. Thank you for speaking. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. My question has to do with, you constantly bring up scientifically proven evidence of abortion.
Yes.
I want to turn that on its head and say, what about the scientifically proven evidence that climate change is undeniably man-made by 97, 98% of scientists who are studying the global climate? How can you say abortion, a life in conception, is scientifically proven to start at conception because of the scientific consensus, and yet climate change is because also has a climate.
Are you asking me specifically?
Oh, I'm asking anybody.
Anybody. Okay, I'm going to give this to Rob, because Rob wants to answer
Okay,
this.
so why we believe that life starts at conception? Because the scientific consensus is actually real for life starting at conception. It's not real for climate change. It's only about 1,500 scientists who actually believed in the 98% consensus on climate change being man-made. So there's millions of scientists in this world, and there is no specific climate change scientist. You can't study climate change when you go to school. It's different types of scientists, right? There's meteorologists, etc., right, that study this in a whole. So when you ask 1,500 scientists and they all agree that climate change is real, you're not asking every scientist, are you?
But you're asking every scientist to study this phenomena of climate.
Okay, so can I...
Right, and not all of them agree. I'm only telling you that when they made the consensus poll, it was only 1,500 scientists.
Do you know how that study was conducted? Because I've heard it so much.
There's so many studies.
No.
Right,
The specific study that 99% agree. It was 98%. 98% agree. Do you know how the study was conducted? I'm asking the question. Yeah.
Of course, how the 3% who disagreed, how their studies were conducted.
No. Do you know how the study to get the 98% consensus was factored? Because it has to come from a specific study.
It doesn't just come from one study.
Okay.
That's why there's a variation of 96 to 98%.
Well, okay, but what source specifically is the 98%? Because I can tell you how the study was conducted.
It's a general knowledge.
Okay, so this specific study that says that 98% of these climate change scientists went through, what they did was they sat people who are not actually climate change scientists, but actually another name for it was like science environmentalists with concerns or something like that. I don't know the specific, whether or not that author was mentioning or talking about the science of climate change, and then they used that as a study to say 98% agree. And it's a really faulty study.
But then how do you justify, as we see in the past 5 years, all these record-breaking climate change happenings, that there's more extreme weather, there's more class 5 hurricanes, there's more extreme weather conditions like we had here in the summer. It broke like 120 degrees Fahrenheit here.
Yeah.
How can you justify that that isn't a result of man-made climate change when there are so many studies saying that the carbon we are putting out in the atmosphere is causing our climate to change?
Well, again, scientific consensuses do change over time. In fact, in the 1970s, it was considered global cooling. There were entire documentaries with Leonard Nimoy, who again I know because I'm a nerd, Dr. Spock, for those of you who aren't aware, was narrating documentaries talking about how the world was going to freeze over, and they were talking about a new ice age that was going to occur. And that was again a large portion of the scientists from Brown University and others who had a very large consensus. Everybody agreed on it, and then it switched to global warming completely. So just because a scientific consensus is made does not mean scientific consensuses do not change over time. Also, I do want to engage with you because you're obviously passionate about the subject and you know a lot. Do you believe that it's credible that they say that the world is going to end in 10 years?
They don't say the world is going to end in 10 years. Life as we know it is going to end relatively soon.
10 to 12.
Life as we know it.
Okay.
Because of how the global infrastructure is going to have to change with the changing climate.
Okay. So they claimed a few years ago that there would be 50 million climate refugees from Pacific Islands flooding the West, and there's not. They claimed that by the year 2000, the ice caps were going to melt, and they haven't. Bill Nye, AOC, and others agree that the world is going to end in 12 years, and it's not. There's all this scientific consensus. You mentioned about rising sea levels in Florida. Why isn't there in the real estate plans any coverage for damage caused by global warming? How am I supposed to believe that Barack Obama and these people actually believe that this is going to happen if he's going to buy a mansion on seafront property? Why does Al Gore have mansions near the beach if he really thinks sea levels are rising? I'm trying to look for it, but there's been so many predictions, and the things that I said, like the 50 million, that's not just some random number. Those are from like NASA and NOAA and professional scientists.
Yeah.
And they said California would be flooded with inland seas by now.
Yeah,
So
it's
how am I
very
supposed to trust
politicized.
those?
It's very politicized, right? So at first it started off, like we said, global cooling, right? Then it turned into global warming, right? And now it's just climate change. Yeah, we know. Climate changes. How can you argue with that? How can you argue with that? Honestly. Like, it's obviously a politicized issue, right? And now you have people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez coming out talking about we should get rid of all cars and all cow farts and let's tax everybody at 90% because this is somehow going to change the economy and help us deal with climate change. It's all just a bunch of bull.
Here's the thing, we need to focus like on climate change. We need to take it off politics and we need to say what proposals will actually lower the climate and by what degree. But very rarely do I ever hear how a proposal is going to lower the climate. Like, I think that it's something that should be looked into, and I think we should look at the science. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I'm saying that it's become so politicized that very few people are willing to believe it, and then we have to separate the politics from the science. But it is a valid concern.
Definitely. Thank you.
So I'm going to put you guys on the spot a little bit.
Go ahead, bring it on.
I agree with you about being pro-life, but how do you morally reconcile being pro-life and being pro-Second Amendment?
I'm confused by the question.
Okay, so theoretically, if you are for guns, then you are for people killing each other, right? So no, hold on. I'm saying, how about this? I'm going to give you the points, right? And so I'm going to go. So let me finish.
Okay.
Okay.
I will let you finish.
Right.
I just want to tell you what I don't want. I don't want a data dump of all these things and then I try to pick out one. So you can give me one and I'll address it and then we'll move on and I'll engage you. Does it sound fair?
Well, not really, because it's like a logical progression to get to where
Just let him finish, okay?
I'll let him finish.
Okay, so here we go. So pro-life means that you think that all life matters, right?
Yes.
Which I agree with. And I'm kind of being argumentative, but I don't mean to be.
No, you're fine.
So the Second Amendment says that the right to bear arms shall not be abridged.
Yes.
Right? So the right to bear arms says that it may not be abridged. That means that anyone should be able to own arms. And
not anyone. But continue.
You can, I'll let you go after it, right? And then theoretically, now this is where I'm not sure if it's clear or not on this part, but that anyone who can own arms should be able to own whatever arms they want to. And so if you say that anyone can own arms and anyone can own any arms that they want to, then you wind up having like this Wild West episode going on, right? That kind of a thing. And so if the Second Amendment does lead to a Wild West thing where people are like, willy-nilly killing each other, how can you reconcile that with the other? Is that clear enough?
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and you can stay if you'd like to engage because I did interrupt you a few times. I apologize for that. Again, I want to engage with you. So the idea is that if you are for the Second Amendment, you're for anybody having guns, and I believe that's what you said. I am not for anybody having guns. I am for law-abiding citizens having guns. There is a difference. There's a reason why when you get out of prison, if you have a bad record, you can't have a gun. I would not say let's give a rapist a gun. I would not say that. To get to your point about the Wild West, you'd say we shouldn't go back to the Wild West. I want to address that narrative. Technically, we already are. There are more than 300 million guns. There are more guns than people. A lot of people in the United States are armed, much more than Canada, much more than Australia, much more than any other country in the world. Now, actually, it was so said at this point that a Canadian debate in the 90s, a pro-gun control, like he wanted to seize all the guns, very radical candidate said, I would love to seize all the guns in the United States, but there's no way to do it logically. There's no way to take it away. Now, to get to your, what was the other point? You said that you're for guns killing people. According to the CDC, 500,000 up to 3 million lives are saved every year by guns. Now, here's the thing about guns. When we look at the gun homicides, the policies that are in place that talk about it are actually very strict. So if you look at guns, 2/3 of the gun homicides in the United States are counted as suicide. No other country does that, but it racks up the numbers. Now, when you say for Second Amendment, I just want to, because I don't want to misrepresent you, right? Do you think we should enact policies to take away people's guns? Are they specific guns? Are like, what exactly is your policy? And then I'll engage you from there.
Okay, so I'm going to let you know that I was kind of giving you a chance to reconcile the two, because my policy is that the Second Amendment needs to be defended unless the people want to change it. Does that make sense? So if the people, in the constitutional way, which is a preponderance of people in the United States, think that the amendment should be changed, then I'm for them going for the chance to do that. Does that make sense? With the Second Amendment being where it is and what it states, I think that it's the job of any person who takes an oath to support the Constitution of the United States to not make laws that go against the Constitution of the United States.
So what you're proposing is actually very, very moderate. It's a little radical when it comes to gun control. If you are saying that it's all guns, are you saying that it's all guns? I just want to clarify.
I didn't hear you.
I'm sorry. Are you saying that all guns in the United States should be taken from citizens? Like
God, no. The Second Amendment says that the right to bear arms shall not be abridged.
Okay.
So I think that the only time that we should be abridging the right is if they've broken the social contract already, or if we find that they don't have the mental ability to be able to use them in a peaceable way.
Right. But I would actually agree with that. I don't think that...
I know, that's why I was saying I was putting you on the spot. Because a lot of people who hear us say that we're pro-life, then they come right away and they attack us for, why are you for the Second Amendment again? So I figured I'd let you explain that.
Yeah, so because guns actually save more lives than they take, according to the CDC and the government, I don't think that saying that you are pro-Second Amendment means you can't be pro-life. A gun, like the purpose of a gun is to neutralize a threat. The thing about guns is, I'm not going to lie and say that guns can't kill people. Obviously they can. They're made to kill animals and kill human beings. But at the same time, they save more lives than they take because people use them defensively, and the defensive use of a firearm completely gets taken out. For some reasons, people think that every person who owns a gun is a criminal, and that is not true. But in doing so,
I want to add a little bit to that because I kind of understand what you're saying. So like abortion is an intentional killing of a human being, right? Shooting somebody intentionally is also evil, right? And I think that both of those things are evil, right? So when a woman decides to have an abortion and that baby is not attacking her body, it's not putting her in danger, and she just decides to have an abortion just out of pure inconvenience, like, I don't think that that's the same as you with a gun at your home defending yourself with somebody trying to attack you. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of just my take on it, but I understand your question and kind of do that. But that's how I reconcile it, you know?
Cool. Makes sense. Thank you.
I'd like to add a little bit more of that if you want to stick around to hear. I want to say that it's philosophically consistent to uphold the values of life, liberty, and property at the same time. They're both, all three are inherent, and they all pre-exist government. And that's why there are rights and duties. If you have a right, you also have a duty to act according to a strict moral compass that was present at the founding of the nation. And so when you have a strict moral compass, you're not going to go out and kill people for the sake of killing people. You're not going to act out in an evil manner. So upholding all three are philosophically consistent with each other: life, liberty, and property.
I agree, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, thank you for the question. Appreciate it. All right, what's your name?
I have a question concerning abortion, and it's not about where life begins or anything like that.
Say your name, please.
My name is Matthew.
Thank you.
Hi, Matthew.
My question is there any circumstance where abortion should be allowed and should be legal, or do you want to ban abortion outright? Because in 2012, the case of Savita Halapanavar in Ireland, she requested an abortion for medical septic miscarriage. So I'm just asking, is there a medical reason, in your opinion, that should be valid for abortion?
You know what, actually, Shauna has a really good answer on this question. Wait, did you say what?
You guys should go down the line and each, because I'm sure everybody has different views on it.
Shauna, can you answer that? Please?
Everyone should answer though.
I will answer after Shauna, and then Cameron will answer. Yeah, let's start down the line. Why don't you start, Rob?
Okay. I do believe, even though I am very pro-life, I do believe that if a woman's life is in danger, that she should have the right to decide whether she can get rid of the child or not. So that's like my only exception with that. I've had a cousin who has also had she had preeclampsia, and she had 2 children at one at 22 weeks and one at 23 weeks. So I don't believe that every abortion should be okay, and I do believe that birth can be induced, and then these children can live, right? And we kind of talked about this during the abortion panel a little bit, where doctors have said, right, like baby's not gonna make it. It's too early, you should just abort the baby. And then the baby is they decide not to have an abortion, and the baby lives, right? So there's a lot of doctors out there that will tell you certain things, and it's hard to see those kind of things. But I think that we should definitely invest more money into the fact that we should be not thinking about killing the children. We should be thinking about how can we make these children live, right? I think that that's where we should invest our money into, as far as inside of the medical field.
So for me, can everyone hear me really quick? Okay, good. So for me, I think abortion should be outlawed to an extent, almost completely. The thing that you hear that, oh, the woman was raped or it's incest, the thing is, why should we be punishing the kid for the sins of the father that committed these atrocious acts? And we do castrate, imprison, and at some points give the death penalty to the rapist or to whoever wrongfully impregnated the woman. If it is such a small case, it is less than 1% of abortions, why should that be the cause? And why should the father, if it's the inconvenience of the mother, why should the father not have an option? And you hear all the times, oh, no uterus, no opinion, or whatever. Thing is, that's basically giving fathers no consequences for sex. The thing is, we should protect innocent life, and that's what we should do. That's what all pro-lifers do. We should protect innocent life. The thing is, if it's a medical case, yeah, but that's so small that we shouldn't base abortion laws all on that. And that's my 2 cents.
Can I add something real quick?
Well, we're going down the line.
Okay.
So you said you wanted to add to that before we continue?
Yes.
You can.
All right, I just want to say it's not, it's a rephrasing, I think, that needs to be clarified. It's not really punishing the child in cases of rape, it's punishing the mother for denying her the choice to abort or not abort the case of rape. It's a burden to that entire mother to carry the reminder of that rapist for 9 months within her.
The thing is, why she can give it up her kid for adoption. That is an option.
Then, that is an option. I agree. And if the mother is capable of doing that, I'd say go for it. But because she wouldn't be capable of it, because that's an everyday reminder of the rape that happened. It's a rapist seed growing inside of you. I don't understand why you would want to deny.
Okay, like women don't need you to make choices for them, because that's what you're doing right now, right? Right. That's what you're doing, right?
I'm just giving my opinion.
So
right now, is
yeah,
what I'm doing.
exactly.
Hey,
So
Rob?
I mean, when you say like, oh, like, if a woman gets raped and she has to be pregnant, she's just going to be horrible and miserable her whole life. Like, who are you to tell women that they're going to be horribly...
Reminder of the rape.
What's that?
I'm just saying it's a constant reminder of the rape while that fetus is incubating.
Constant reminder? How? What if it's not? Are you still against it?
I'm not saying in 100% of cases that it is. There are mothers out there who are willing to carry a child who is a product of rape to full...
Hey, Rob,
them entirely, but
can I elaborate on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so unless you still want me to answer your first question, otherwise I will move on to the second.
Speak freely, yeah.
Okay, which would you prefer me answer first?
First things first. Yeah.
First things first, okay. So, is there ever an exception where I believe that an abortion should take place, and that includes not just the medical process of abortion, but just all things on the table, just ending the life is what I would call it. Cancer. If a woman has cancer and she needs chemotherapy to live, this has happened with Dana Scatton, a Christian woman who denied chemotherapy. And then she ended up dying while having her kid. She gave her life for her kid, which is very honorable and a beautiful thing. But at that point, you are choosing a life. So I would not say that the mother who has cancer doesn't want to keep her kid, but she understands that if she doesn't get chemo, she might die. That would be my answer. I did an abortion paper, and I had to find an area where I would disagree. So I guess the other question would be, why would I be against it for somebody who was raped? And the question always goes back to, as I said previously, it always goes back to, when does life begin? If you consider it a life, it changes everything. Like, I want to take this scenario and put it on myself. So let's say that I am married. I'm not, I'm single, but let's say that thanks guys, appreciate it. I'm single. Let's say that I met the woman of my dreams, I got married, terrible thing happens one day. That woman is raped. My wife is raped. Now, we go in, we figure out who did it. Best case scenario, we lock him away, he gets the death penalty, whatever, we move on. Then the doctor says to me, okay, we're gonna do a test. We're gonna see if it's the rapist's baby or it's gonna see if it's my baby, right? Then the doctor gets back to me and my wife and says, good news, it's your kid. You don't have to worry about it. The kid is born, we're both happy. Then all of a sudden, I get a call. And the doctor says, I'm so sorry, we made a mistake, it's the rapist kid. Now, can I end that life? See, it's a different question when you view it as a life. I would give it up for adoption, but it is not my right to end the life, and it is not my wife's right to end the life. That is why I'm against abortion for rape, because I consider it a life, and I consider every life equal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you for sharing your opinion.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
And we have one more comment on that.
Sweating. If you want to stick around to listen, I was going to say something.
Go ahead.
So for the healthcare aspect, it's never standard medical procedure to...
Sorry, keep going.
It's never standard medical procedure to consider an abortion to be the first line of care for the woman. And in fact, it's hardly health care at all. That's why the doctors treat women and children as two separate patients. They're two separate people. And for the other aspect about rape and extreme minority cases for abortion, it does go back to when life begins. Because if you fail to acknowledge when life begins, none of us have an inherent value or an inherent right to life. So if you have to be consistent, you have to be consistent on the side of life and eliminate the eliminate the suffering, eliminate crime and criminals, and that's when justice will be served, and not when you are eliminating a child in the womb.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead, I'll give you your question. I know we like to elaborate on things because it's touchy subjects. What's your name?
Oh, I'm Jesus.
Jesus, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you guys too, and thank you for what you guys doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just see like a big problem with the country. Like I think we are divided. You know, so like why do you guys label yourself as conservative? Like I don't label myself as a liberal.
I'll go on this. So why do we label ourselves as conservative? So I kind of talked about this earlier with somebody in the crowd that I guess everybody wants better health care, right? Everybody wants a better home. Everybody wants more money in their pocket. There's just two different ways of getting there, right? Conservatives believe that the free market is the best way to get there as far as getting a new home and getting a new house. Liberals believe that we can tax everybody to death and raise our taxes, and that's going to somehow make people richer. Well, the evidence that goes along with that is just not true as far as, you know, on the left, right? Raising taxes and you know, taxing people through oblivion is not the way to create growth. It's not a way to create wealth. That's not how you do it, right? Because if that was really true, why don't we just tax people at 100% and just have eternal growth from, you know, forever, right? Because it's just not true, right? So conservatives kind of believe in certain things, and I believe liberals believe in certain things. I think that we just have facts to back it up, and they don't.
And the label conservative, we you know, identify with that because it's what we believe in, right? It's a term that represents all of our beliefs, and in a time that's very as divisive as you say, you would think, why would you want to, you know, put a label on yourself? Doesn't that divide? But in my opinion, our intention here is not to divide. Our intention here is to stand up for our beliefs and our views. And unfortunately, there are groups today who seek to divide. And so we want to stand for our beliefs, but others want to divide us. So it's not that we're trying to divide, it's that we're trying to stand for our beliefs while others are trying to divide us. And Rob touched on this before the panel started. We've experienced this on campus, and it's, you know, we believe that we have, you know, a right to say our beliefs and speak our beliefs openly without, without, you know, being in trouble for that. And so that we want to stand for those beliefs as a group, and, you know, yeah.
So, unless Alex, did you want to go? Okay. Yeah, outspoken. I will not say that my beliefs will never change because I always give myself the option. In some areas, I'm actually more liberal. When it comes to art, I'm more liberal. When it comes to how I was raised, people would consider me more conservative. The problem becomes when you believe that people who are of a certain background should not have a voice, should not speak, are dumb or all stupid because they believe that. Like, I don't believe that all the left is disingenuous. I believe some of them, like I believe most politicians in general are just disingenuous, but I don't believe people who ascribe to a certain belief are disingenuous. I don't think you're disingenuous because you say you might lean more liberal. I don't think somebody who has a problem with the country might be disingenuous. But the problem is in questioning that, saying those people shouldn't speak, saying those people shouldn't have a voice, and trying to demean people for what they believe. I don't think in the United States, unless it's something completely abhorrent, that you should be demeaned for what you believe. And that's really where the political divide comes from. It's from not only believing that people are wrong, but some people even believe that if you hold a different viewpoint than me or you, that they're evil, and that is wrong. That's where the political divide comes from.
I'm kind of more of a fan of thinking that conservatives are actually more liberal because definitions are skewed. Liberals today are actually leftist and borderline or full-on Marxist, actually. So conservatives agree with the philosophy of liberty and freedom, so that's why I like to think of us more like philosophical liberals, and we're only conservatives in the sense that we want to go back to what 1776 meant, or what the founders meant when they drafted the Constitution and signed it.
Okay, we only have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to keep it moving.
Okay, keep going. But thank you for the question.
Thanks, Jesus. Appreciate it.
I mean, really fast. I mean, like, you guys, like, point out the enemies, like, I mean, the enemy is, like, the Marxist, the leftist. And the library is, like, the most socialistic thing we could have. Like, we could go in there with no money and get a book. I got this laptop rented with no money. You know, that's pretty socialist. You know, we need that kind of safety net for each other.
That doesn't mean that it's a good program for the country, right? So, like,
well, no, hold on. We need to thrive together, though. Like,
well, nobody thinks we don't need to thrive.
Right.
Yeah. But how is it not a good program for the country? Like, how is free education not?
Okay, so for example, right, the post office, right, is a federally funded organization, right? They lost $30 million last year. Is that a good thing? No, that's horrible, right? It's bad. So, and if you go down the line of government entities that we fund every single year, they're all horrible. They don't know how to distribute money. They're just bad at their job. And that's why conservatives believe that we should be doing it. We know what to do with our money. Doesn't mean that just because we take that program away, that doesn't mean you're not going to get a laptop ever again. Doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to walk into somewhere and rent a book. Right. No, it's just the fact that you want the government running it, or do you want honest people running?
I mean, like, when I think of the government, I think of like social, like, groups coming together for the sake of justice, for the sake of liberty, you know?
The same thing with churches.
Right,
right. Churches do the same thing.
But like, you know, I mean, Big Brother can't protect me, you know what I mean? Like, I don't rely on police to protect me. I would protect myself.
Good for you.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean,
you should.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like if I was pro-gun, I would, you know, carry a gun, protect myself, protect other
I'd
people.
advise that you
for
do
the
get
sake for the sake of justice, for the sake for each other.
Yeah, I understand you.
Right. So it's like, you know, like here we are, just going at it. You know, I mean, there's this problem. Like, I think this country is one of the most extreme forms of capitalists. Like, once they make it on top, they want to maintain their position, and they'll do anything.
Well, see, that's different, because that's cronyism. Cronyism does not equate to free market capitalism. And I just like to say free markets, right? I don't like constant control. Hey, Rob, can we do a favor? Can we extend this by maybe like just 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, if you hurry up.
Yeah, because if I hurry up. Okay, so I like track records, right? I like data. I like just looking at other countries. I can't see a major company that's implied socialism on a massive scale according to the Marxist tenets of socialism that has ever worked. It doesn't have a very good track record, in my opinion. Like the closest country right now, to just give you an idea about the Marxist view of socialism, not the current views, just the Marxist view of socialism. The closest country that comes close to meeting all tenets of socialism that Karl Marx lays out in his manifesto is Venezuela, right now. Not as it was, but right now. But that, to answer your question, yeah, I like track records. We have the greatest economy that's lifted more people out of poverty than any other system ever in any country. And I think that, to put it lightly, I don't like the idea of financial equality as much as I like the idea of financial mobility, that you can improve yourself if you are in a bad situation versus everybody has an equal amount of money.
And there's also this misconception, right? Like, leftists get into government, especially, like, for example, insurance in our state, right? They put a bunch of regulations on how you purchase health insurance in our state, and then the whole system collapses, and then people turn around and blame capitalism for it. It's like, stop putting the regulations on capitalism, and it would work out the way it's supposed to. And that's what it is, you know? If you take a micro or macroeconomics class inside of this school, they will tell you the best way to fix externalities that are wrong inside of capitalism is to let the market work itself out. That's what you're supposed to do. Yes, there's not going to be a perfect system that's going to give every single person, you know, $50,000, $60,000 a year. It's just not possible.
Right. I mean, I just don't think like, you know, like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, that's his name?
Yeah, Jeff Bezos.
Like, I don't think he'll buy like a billion pairs of shoes. I think like if it goes to the people, billions of shoes will be bought. The market will grow from there. You know?
Well, there's also this misconception about capitalists being greedy. So like being greedy isn't always a bad thing. Like if you're a business owner and you want to create a product that is best for everybody and you're greedy because you want their business, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Great. Make good products that I will come back and buy every single week, or every single month, or every single year. That doesn't make you a greedy person because you want to serve other people with good products, right? So when you talk about greed, you're really talking about like people who are you know, making a lot of money and they're not redistributing it to their employees for doing the work that they do, things like that, right? But you can't always say like, oh, just because Amazon is big now, they're all of a sudden greedy and they're not paying everybody $15 an hour, right?
We, the people, pay taxes. You know, they don't pay taxes, right?
No, they do pay taxes, absolutely.
I mean, dude, I hear, damn.
You don't think Amazon pays taxes?
Maybe it's my brainwashing Marxist professors.
It absolutely is, because this is what they'll tell you in every single class that you go into the school.
You know, I mean, yeah, I appreciate your time, you know, and like I hope, like, you know, as the minimum wage increases, that we still have the margin of higher pay for the people that train for these jobs that got, you know, that work for it. But you know, So thank you, and I hope we do. I have faith in the future. I do not. No, I think this country was stolen from natives, built on slaves, maintained by immigrants. But I hope we change this. I hope we still have these things. And thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for the question.
Okay. Oh, she's been waiting for a while.
Yeah, but I want to get to her. Like, before we say anything about the last comment, let's answer your question. What's your name?
Oh, sorry. These are our last two questions. Everybody, just so everybody knows. Okay.
Well, I think we could add one more. Could we add one more?
No, last two.
These are our last two.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Quick.
Hi, I'm Diana.
Hi, Diana.
What is your name in the middle?
My name's Andreas.
Andreas?
Yes, Diana. Nice to meet you.
So, earlier you said for the question about climate change that a scientific consensus can change, correct?
Yes.
My question is, can't we say the same for abortion?
See, that's the thing is that the end of your question? I don't want to cut you off.
I also have more.
Go ahead.
Making abortion unavailable to women will not make abortion go away. Dangerous methods like coat hangers, for example, will still occur. Women will turn to unsanitary and unsafe methods of abortion. In a perfect world, there would be more education about abortion and women's health, including myself wanting to be more knowledgeable. How can we be sure that the men in power making these choices are properly educated?
That's a very good question. So I want to address the first thing that you said. Scientific consensus has changed. This is true. But right now, the popular opinion, not the scientific consensus, is what drives the narrative. So people don't go based off the scientific consensus of when life begins. They go off when they think life begins or what they personally believe. But there's not a lot of consensus on the pro-choice scale. You mentioned that what I've heard from even pro-lifers that they're afraid of if they ban abortion, that they're going to have coat hangers and
That's not true.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The doctor who created basically all the statistics on abortion and on self-abortion, Dr. Bernard Nathanson from NARAL admitted that they could not find a single statistic on it, so they actually had to create and manufacture the statistics. So it's really hard to even dive into that data because every single statistic on that has been proven to be false. They couldn't even find one. Now, across the world, that's different. That's why whenever a pro-choicer steps up and asks a question on it, they usually quote a world study or another country study. In the United States, self-abortion is very, very rare. I think the last documented case of self-abortion that actually went to a court system was maybe 1599. And also, women aren't being jailed for abortions. The only two cases that happened was in 1911 and 1922. So, just to go back to what your other question was about scientific consensus has changed. Roe versus Wade was established in 1978. It's not functioning on current science, it's functioning on past science, but people's consensuses have stayed the same over time, even though the scientific consensus says otherwise. I think Roe versus Wade needs to be updated to current science, to what we currently have. And that's why I believe that that will help. As far as self-abortions though, there's not any data that would show that it would go up or rise because again, all the statistics on that were manufactured. And I really wish that they weren't because I would have liked to see study to further analyze that, but then that shows you that if it's not true that they had to create this, the statistic, that the argument isn't backed up by evidence. So I think Roe versus Wade should be brought into the current era. I think it should be updated with the current science. And I also believe that just like heat used to be considered a substance and now scientists consider it a quantity, a human life, a scientific consensus on what a human life is should determine our policies, not people's opinions. But thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Unless you want to elaborate.
And your second question was how do we make sure that people are educated, right? That people are making those kind of laws. I think that no person that cares about life doesn't know about scientific data relating to life. Like, they just don't. Like, nobody is getting elected in government and being like, I know nothing about abortion and I'm just gonna make a huge law about it. Yeah, that would be really cool. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Like, they know what they're talking about. Pro-lifers, we study this a lot more than pro-choicers do. Pro-choicers just run around and scream, my body, my choice, and keep your rosaries away from my ovaries and all these crazy lines, right? Like, we're actually looking at data, like scientific data. We study it all the time. Conservatives really, and you won't ever see many conservatives out, you know, inside of government who are going to be.
Is this how you make a point, by putting down the opposite party?
I'm sorry? Oh, I'm not putting you down.
No,
I'm
he's
just-
not putting you down.
No, I'm
Your
not putting
question
you
is a
down.
good one because a lot of people have it. It was an intelligent question, and you deserve praise for it.
I'm not putting it down. I just think it's silly.
No, he didn't.
You know what I mean? Like,
You
I think the whole thing is just silly. You know what I mean? So I'm not putting anybody down. I'm just saying that people who are studying this stuff, like that are in government and wanting to make laws relating to abortion, like they're not just people who decided to wake up tomorrow morning and say like, yeah, I'm gonna make a law about that. They just don't do that.
Yes.
So she's talking about her as an everyday citizen. How does she get informed about her choices?
Right. And also, as far as abortion goes and wanting to ban it, what about people who are financially unstable? What about young couples who are not ready to have a baby? Why would you force them to go through and cause not damage, but cause their lives to change? Because it's our lives too.
Right. Well, I
Rob,
don't think.
can I take that one?
Yeah. I just don't. Yeah. Let me answer real quick. I don't think that you should be worrying about your financial status after you've had sex and got pregnant. I think it's irresponsible. It really is. I mean, no matter how you look at it, right? If you're thinking about, oh no, I'm pregnant now. Oh wait, we can't pay our light bills. Like, why are you thinking about that now? Like, why didn't you think about the poverty situation before you had sex and got pregnant? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what we should be promoting.
But what if it was consensual and there was birth control and birth control failed? Are you saying that we should just abstain from sex?
Well, if you're living in poverty, I don't think that sex is something that should be focused on. You know what I mean? Like, it just shouldn't, right? You shouldn't be thinking about that at the time, right? Like, that's my point. Is like, why are you thinking about poverty after the fact that you get pregnant?
And
you know what I
Rob,
mean? Like,
Rob, I wanted to
go
say
ahead.
something really quick.
Sure.
You started off by talking about the scientific consensus of climate change versus abortion and human life. The consensus changed on climate change because it's such a large topic and it's something that has to be observed over a very long period of time. Whereas human life is something that has been proven since the advent of cell theory in the mid to late 1800s, and it's stayed consistent since then. And it's only been our knowledge of when human life begins and what human life means in the womb has only improved in the last 200 years.
I mean, I'd also like to point out that I want to bring the question. First of all, great question. Thank you for asking a question. I want to bring it back to when does life begin? And if we can recognize that life begins at conception, it doesn't matter it's a life, and so if it doesn't matter those the circumstances outside of the womb, what matters is that there's a life, and that life deserves to be protected. And I also want to bring up that not just men are signing abortion bills into law. There's also in Alabama, Governor Kay Ivey signed one into law. So it's not just men making the decision. Many women also.
That's one of the strictest laws too.
Yeah.
That a woman, a governor from Alabama, signed into law. It was one of the strictest abortion laws in the country, right? I think it was like is that the 6 weeks heart bill, right? In Alabama. Yeah. So I mean, there are women who also agree with us too, but.
But you had a great question. So the question becomes, when it's talking about poverty, like I don't want people in poverty. That's why I'm glad that we have a very strong economy right now. It's also why I was a little horrified when one of the Democratic presidential candidates talked about restricting tax-exempt statuses from churches who would specifically be there to help the people that are in those situations. The people that I know, people who are in my church, who help orphans and kids who are on the street. But at the same time, I would not, like, if this was a pushing daisy situation where I could just touch somebody and they would die, I would not walk up to a kid and take his life because he's poor. I can't be the judge of what determines life. Like, you wouldn't take away the life of somebody who was in poverty because they're in poverty, would you?
No.
Okay. So, like, you,
Trying to connect
go ahead.
what you're saying
No, yeah.
to
So, like, I'm saying that all life has value. Poor, rich, wealthy, black, white, yellow, red, doesn't matter. What matters is that the life has value, and I am not somebody who can take that life away. That's not my right to do. But you had a great question, and I want to thank you for it, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time, and I think you guys are very knowledgeable, but also very narrow-minded. Thank you.
Woo! Clap back. Oh, everyone loves this.
I like the spunk, by the way. I do like
This
the
is our
spunk of
last
that.
comment or question of the
Last
night.
question.
We're 5 minutes over, so.
Sweet. Let's go, Will.
Oh, my bad. Hey, how's it going, guys? I kind of want to shift gears and shift domestic policies, from the U.S. and talk about international politics. How do you guys feel about U.S. foreign intervention, especially when it comes to meddling other countries' election and backing like coup d'etats against politicians that we don't agree with? Like, if you look up like Operation Condor from 1950s, I guess to the 80s or 70s, the CIA has backed what's called coup d'etats and overthrew left-wing governments and reinstalled dictatorships such as like in Chile with Pinochet, where we overthrew Allende. It starts with A, I forgot it. And we installed Pinochet as a right-wing dictatorship. Because of that, if you look through history, he had killed like thousands of dissidents and made many people disappear. Like, how do you guys, basically, I'm pretty sure, how do you guys feel about U.S. foreign intervention when it comes to that kind of stuff?
I don't like it. I don't like U.S. foreign intervention where we don't need to be. I don't like us being the world's police. I don't like the fact that we destabilized the region that led to Gaddafi's death and then destabilized that region anymore. I think the Iraq war was a mistake, even though I think it was done on good intentions. I think that we've gotten a lot of problems that we shouldn't have had because we decided to stray outside our borders and be international police, which is not the function of the U.S. That's my answer.
And okay, so my answer to that is yes. I don't believe in intervention when it's things like like Libya and like Benghazi, right? Those are bad, right? They just ended up bad. We shouldn't have been involved in their elections, right? But you also have to think, like, my parents wouldn't be here if America didn't interfere with the Philippines when the Japanese invaded my parents' country, right? So I believe that the government should definitely look at what they're doing and get more intelligence on it before we interfere in something. But I mean, I'm all for like intervention in countries where people are running from communism, running from horrible socialism. What's
Hong
that?
Kong.
Yeah, and Hong Kong, right? And where people's God-given rights are being taken away, right? And I believe that we should interfere with those kind of things because nobody else has the capacity or the resources to help those countries out. And we also have to think about all the other countries who are looking to invade those countries, right? So they let those things happen because once they get to a point where they don't have enough resources to support themselves, other countries are going to move in and invade those countries, right? So America should definitely be looking at that and definitely be getting intelligence on that. I definitely think that that's something that we should do.
Yeah, I also want to continue. What about like when it comes to meddling or country elections, such as if you guys have heard what happened in Bolivia with the Evo Morales guy? No. Basically, what's happening in Bolivia right now is that there's like a protest going on because the left-wing president Evo Morales he had an election. He had an election recently, which goes because his term is just like present both sides, but people voted for him. And but the problem was the OAS, which is the Organization of American States. It's a collection of it's kind of like an organization of states in Americas, and they put out a report saying like the election was fraudulent, the election was this and that, and like a lot of corruption happened. And because of that kind of added gave a reason for the opposition party to come and come and like kick Evo Morales out. And right now he's in asylum in Mexico because Evo Morales, he got attacked by many U.S. politicians for being too left-wing or too socialist or what have you. So I kind of want to ask, like, where do you guys would draw a line when it comes to like intervening in other countries' policies, which have economic policies vastly different than ours?
And again, that goes back to like intervention. But like, let me ask you a question. Like, let's say Vladimir Putin, right? Let's say somebody challenged him and they had an election and they won, right? They beat Vladimir Putin. They want to reverse his policies. They want to go against him, right? Now, what happens when Putin says, "Well, you're not taking my place"? does that directly affect the United States? Well, of course it does.
Yeah.
So the question is going to be, what countries do we intervene in and why? So I'm not blanket against never intervening because some things directly affect us. I mean, look at Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. Look at what happened to them. And that was us like trying to go against Maduro, but then it created all these refugees and everything else, and a lot of them went to the United States. There's a lot of countries that directly affect the United States. Israel is one of them in the Middle East, and we have a bunch of other countries. But the question becomes, when do we intervene? Why do we intervene? We need a good reason to intervene, and we need a goal. If we don't have a goal, we shouldn't intervene.
Thank you, Will.
That's all the questions I had.
Thank you. And thank everybody for coming.
Thank
We're
you
done
guys
now.
for your
Thanks a lot.
questions. There were a lot of good questions. Thank you. You have a good day.